This time on Spare Parts Cruising the Coast, we are blowing apart Mike's front end, putting it all back together, and hopefully getting it on those new pretty wheels. Dark Knight is back in the garage. It has been a while.
Has been a while, almost a month. Been thinking about my car, haven't been able to work on it. So we're really excited this weekend. We have a bunch of stuff to do. Have actually done some prep. Dad is working on his Oldsmobile Cutlass. That's a 79, and he pulled the front end out of it, and he gave me his upper and lower control arms. So I thought that was a good thing, so I could have them all prepped when we pulled them out of the Dark Knight. It's a direct replacement, so G-body to G-body. Thought that would be real easy. And then we started
trying to pull it all apart.
So I was trying to pull it apart, and found out that those rivets where the ball joints are riveted in from the factory are a little more difficult to take off than we expected. So what we ended up doing is taking off two from this side, and then two on the front, and just kind of fishing it out from there, just kind of prying it off. While we were doing that, we decided that it would be safer to move the grinder out into the driveway area, get it out of the garage so that we wouldn't have any problems with sparks. But lo and behold, we did have a stray spark that got into some combustibles. So kids, let this be a lesson to you. Make sure that if you're doing any kind of grinding, that you've got the proper safety attire, that you've got safety glasses, and that you've got some shields around you to catch those stray sparks, because it will start a fire. Don't think it won't happen to you. But we overcame that, and we were able to get everything cleaned up. We got the new ball joints in, we got the new bushings in, everything is ready to replace. Did a really nice paint job on some of those parts. Here's another helpful hint. Make sure that you do all your pressing and grinding and hammering and beating before you do your paint job. Don't laugh at me. Laugh with me, okay?
So we just rolled the car in here. We just finished all the A-arms just a little bit ago. This is exactly where we left it last time, but it looks pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and jack up the car, put it on jack stands. Ooh, 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 ooh. Look. New wheels. So those are going on it. Alright, I'm going to jack it up, pop those wheels off, and start busting apart the front end. Alright, we are trying to get ready to cruise the coast with these spare parts. We've got some spare parts to put on this morning. We are about to pull all of this loose, old and rusty. And we're going to replace that single piston caliper setup with a dual piston caliper setup off of a Blazer. All of those A-arms are coming off and staying off. We've got rehabbed stuff over on the other side that is going on. We've been pulling off some of the wrap this morning.
That's a lovely antique patina that we got going there. So I may just go with the clear coat and just forgo the wrap and the paint job altogether. Give it a real sleeper look, kind of a street survivor.
Yeah, but what are you going to do here?
I thought about that. I could use that as a utility opening for cold air intake. So
yeah, we could turn it into an air scoop. That's right. No problem.
That's true. We can just kind of take the grinder to this portion right here, clean that up. It's going to be an air scoop in no time.
Custom.
Nice.
Anyway, we put all these together yesterday. It took all day, but we got the old bushings out. We got new bushings in. These are from Dad's 78 Cutlass. So we are going to put them on this car. So let's get started. Mike has discovered some interesting engineering. Let's see if we can get in to show you.
Yeah, so normally where you got these castle nuts, you got a cotter pin that goes through the shaft of the thread, but in this case, the former owner did not use a cotter pin. I believe they used a roofing nail. I know you're laughing with me and not at me, but I'm gonna reach in here and just see if I can't pull this bad boy out. It looks like they really drove it in there good. I can feel the other end. It's bent over. So here was a little roofing nail that we pulled out of the castle nuts on the upper control arm. Cotter pins cost about 10-13 cents. This nail probably cost about 5 cents, and it was laying around in the garage, so that is why it got utilized. Definitely performed the job. It kept that castle nut from coming off. Was just an extreme form of automotive engineering. Well done, guys.
We've got it all apart. Reasonably kind of rusty in there.
But not too bad. It seems like it's surface rust, but nothing too serious. No gaping holes, so I'm feeling good about that. Need to just blow out the mouse house and get good.
And replace it with all new, clean, shiny parts. Pull it out. Now, go ahead and degrease that and get it ready for paint, and let's knock out the bushings. Oh wait, we don't have to do that.
I need to get this little mouse house off me. Definitely a few little mouses living up in here. So you can see part of their condo went right over this ball joint, and the back terrace was right in here where the spring was at. So served them well, but now it's time to go. Okay, I'm about to install the lower control arm on the passenger side. And one thing that I wanted to point out is when we put these new bushings in, we had to press these in place, and we also did a fair amount of deformation. By that I mean we had to kind of beat the old race out of there. So you can see where it's kind of scarred up around the edges here. It's really important to support this area while you're doing that, because if you change this geometry, it's going to make it difficult to fit it up in here. Now that fits pretty close, but if you start beating on this thing and changing the geometry in here, if you don't support that, then it's going to be problematic trying to put it back up in here where it mounts. We were fortunate because we had some half pipes that we were able to use to support that while we were doing while we were pressing out those races. So it worked out okay for us, but something to definitely be aware of as you're doing this job. The upgraded spindles on there. We got the upper and lower control arms in place. Spring is in place. When we did a test fitment with the tires, we noticed that with the sport suspension on the 87 Regal, the front end was sitting up a little bit high. The motor that we pulled out of there was a little heavier than the Lemmy that we put back in. I didn't think it was that much. So what we ended up doing was cutting one coil out of each spring to lower that a little bit. Also, we found out when we did the driver's side, when we were trying to pull the spring compressor out, it got kind of wedged up here between the frame and the side of the spring. By that time, we had already put the cotter pins to the castle nuts, so we had to pull all that stuff apart so we could separate it enough to get it out of there. So the lesson that we learned there is don't put the cotter pins in until everything is adjusted, until you can make all your final adjustments. Then you can put the pins in there. Save yourself 26 cents.
Just don't forget to do it.
Yes, don't forget to put the cotter pins back in every castle nut. So we'll have a little checklist at the end of the project where we go through and we tighten up everything, check for all of our cotter pins, make sure everything's in order.
Gonna use my imagination, 'cause I'm gonna make you see there's nobody else here, there's no one like me. What's the show? So special. I gotta have some of your attention. Give it to me, little, just a
faking. Don't mind saying, just keep faking. You have everything you have gold. You have everything.
Hey, young buck.
What's up, young buck coming at you? Record store day, April 21st.
So what you doing there, young buck?
I am restocking vinyls. This is my life now.
That's your life?
This is my life now.
Why don't you take a good look at yourself and describe what you see? Baby, 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 do you like that? There you sit, sitting, spare like a book on a shelf, rusting and trying not to fight. I mean, really, really trying. You really don't care if they're coming. Whoa, oh, oh. Know that it's all a state of mind. Ooh, you will know. You sharpen your knife before you use it every time?
Pretty much. Down and on nice rainy days, I sharpen it. I haven't done that in a while.
So the garlic you're chopping is for
For the outside of the rib roast.
the ribs. You're gonna
Chop it up real
chop it up real fine.
Put some olive oil, salt and pepper, probably some thyme, and rub it on the outside. They already dressed that.
Yes, I asked them to do that. So you can ask your butcher to kind of not really debone it, but to separate it so it's easier when you carve it, right? So do you cook it with the fat side up?
Yeah, bone side down, fat side up.
So you rub all sides with the olive oil. They're using a coarse ground salt, sea salt, or?
I use kosher salt. I have a coffee grinder and I kind of run it through the coffee grinder.
Okay.
Just buzz it real quick, just to knock some of the big chunk off of it. I do the same thing with peppercorns.
Is that black pepper?
So I've got a meaty hand and a clean hand.
A meaty hand? Neat hand and clean hand. Into the oven she goes. It's going to be delicious.
Perfect.
Needs to be 135. 34 at one point. And here we have perfectly carved prime rib, ready in all its deliciousness for us to eat. Yum, yum.
Okay, yeah, so we decided to take a peek underneath the skin of the Dark Knight to find out what it really looks like. And it actually has a two-tone paint job with some very cool pinstriping right along here. So we pulled the vinyl wrap off. It's kind of like peeling a sunburn. Slightly two-tone purple night. But that's that's a temporary situation. Everything is
You
temporary.
could call it the Joker if it's purple.
I'm thinking maybe the Ron Burgundy, since it is a lovely shade of burgundy, but mauve. Mauve. It's not mauve, okay? Mauve is a pastel, and this is most definitely not a pastel. So,
Kind of pink. Maybe it was a Mary Kay car.
But I like the effect. I do.
overall, I think it has a nice aged patina. So
It'll have a better effect when it's running.
Yeah, it'll look much better when the engine is running.
All right, we'll see.
That pretty car on those pretty wheels.
They do look pretty nice. I was really happy with the way that turned out. As it ended up, the coil that we took out of the spring perhaps was too much. Still not understanding why the front end is sitting up high with the standard spring. The weight of the motor, I didn't think it made that much difference. Maybe it's motor and transmission, not sure. But it looks like some new springs are in the future. So
We'll get you some V6 springs and you'll be fine.
yes, but I'm happy with the wheels. Put the new upgraded spindles on. We'll get to brakes and steering linkage next time. It's all good.
All right, next time on Spare Parts Cruising the Coast, we will put in the springs that need to go in there. And we'll talk to you a little bit more about 82 that you can see there in the background. So until then, Spare Parts Cruising the Coast, built
Never
bought.